Hey, everybody. Peace be with you. My name is Hagen from Lettuce Comics. I am joined, as always, by Nate of Holly Yeah Comics, and we have a very special guest today on the Sunday Comic Book Hangover Show. It is Jason from Renegade Rants. Father, how are you doing today?
Oh, absolutely. Well, my children, bless thy channels and thy comic collection.
I we should have had him on the first show, like so that this could have started off. I mean, we've been broadcasting in sin for months.
Yeah, we've been advocating for it seems like the Church of the Claw for months at this point.
Right.
We needed to start off on a better foot.
By the way, has anyone reached out to you for the actual sponsorship? Because if they haven't, they're missing the boat here.
We're still waiting. We're still waiting.
No,
Uh,
Brian's out there fighting the good fight. But
yeah,
Yeah, I saw that he had sent something out there, so
that killed me. Yeah. So Brian reached out to White Claw's PR department and tagged us in that post, and I, that made my week. I don't know if I've laughed that hard at work in a while.
no. The best one was when what your wife said, which I'm not allowed to say in this, but that was
Mhm.
the greatest,
that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, she's a funny lady.
Before we jump into it, Jason, I want to take a look at all the lovely people that we've got in chat this morning. As always, Eric from SideQuest got here at 2:35 in the AM. How are you doing, bud? And then JSS Brooklyn clocking in early and being just the best dang blue wrench
Yeah,
that exists out there.
get him.
We got
Thank you,
Rich from
man.
Big Nasty
Rich.
and Impressed Comics, who made a cameo appearance on our live stream with Colossus and a whole bunch of other guys this past Friday. That was a ton of fun.
Matt,
If you haven't seen that,
it
you should
was.
check that out. Christina Payne,
Christina.
co best dang blue wrench in the world. How are you doing? Chris Sturgeon is here.
Chris.
K Munin is here. Don't worry, K Munin. Jason's bringing some class and some culture to the stream, so
Yes.
I don't think you'll have to worry all that much.
Yeah, well, it was either this or the ferret cosplay I'm working on.
Yeah, that he would have left.
His head would have exploded.
And I have something to talk about later, and you will too, Hagen, that I think K Munen's gonna love actually.
Sounds fantastic. Well, Doug is here as well, and Chonko is here.
Chonko back in the country.
Justin Birch is here.
Justin.
Hello, sir.
Another Heroes Con traveler.
Michael, just Michael.
Just Michael.
The YouTuber formerly known as Michael. Crom is here. What's up, dude?
Wow. Bjorn is up early, man. Good morning.
Either that or he never went to bed.
That's
it
true.
It could be that one. We've got Hayden, the next gen collector.
Hayden.
And our PR department, Brian LCS, is here. And then Richard Westfall. Would you look at that? It's the three-way tie for blue wrenches.
Wow.
Hey buddy.
Very cool.
John Torrance is here.
That's a new name to me, so welcome,
yeah,
John.
I don't recognize your name, bud, but thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here. And I think
you got everybody.
Yeah, so Jason, for those that don't know you, do you have like an elevator pitch? Like somebody gets stuck with you in an elevator and you're like, really quick, I have a YouTube channel, let me tell you about it. Do you have something like that?
Yeah, it's Renegade Rants Comics. Initially, the whole reason I did the rant thing is I wasn't going to do a comic channel. And the first couple of videos I did, I ranted about Dollar General. And I ranted about, I used to be a barback / bartender, and I went over the one thing you need is ice, kind of thing. And I was going to do it like a Dennis Miller style. Then my one buddy was like, you're always watching comic YouTube. Like, why don't you do it? And I didn't want to change the name because I actually had a few followers from that kind of thing. So I kind of just switched it over. Ghost Rider, Punisher, and Wolverine are my top three that I collect personally. I have a whole mixture of everything, which I blame Nate for.
Hey,
because anytime there's something
it's his fault too.
No, Hagen is more of a Captain America guy, and I've got a slight Captain America problem, but not as bad, and a few Iron Mans that I had over the course that are my dollar fillers. But yeah, basically just try to throw a video out every couple weeks now, because I was getting burnt out, and then I just got a promotion at work. Not this promotion. This is just going to probably be my new cosplay for the rest. But I am a Universal Life Church minister. I believe Nate is a fellow brother. So
I am fellow member of the cloth.
Yeah.
How many weddings have you performed?
2 weddings, a funeral, and somebody wanted me for a baptism, but then they pulled out at the last minute.
Yeah, I've only done 1 wedding, but it's still a lifelong commitment.
Yeah, well, one of my weddings is going through divorce, and then they were mad that I was actually official. Like they thought they could get away with it.
Right, like it'll be.
Like,
it's not real.
No,
it actually.
I sent that into the state, and it's New York State, so good luck with that.
Yeah.
Because when you were applying for like life insurance benefits later, you would have been mad if it weren't real. So
exactly. Hey, good morning, Stevie D.
I was about to say we got to showcase Stevie.
Jason, your three big characters. Okay, you do have Ghost Rider's first appearance, right?
I do not have at the Marvel Spotlight.
Oh, okay.
Now I have Marvel Spotlight 6. The second one. And of course, not a plug, but if anyone is ever interested in hanging these up, comic capsules, like I just love these things because they got the hanger right on the back. You can put it right up on the wall, and then you can actually pop these, put different books in if you wanted to change the display. But I do have the Ghost Rider 1, which was my biggest book of last year, and it's in horrible shape, but it looks good if you don't look at it too closely. That's like I read it, and I am like, I have this as a reprint, and the original Ghost Rider Rides Again. I will never open this again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's I like having a book with character. Dope always says it's a survivor. He's like, he's got a book that's all. He's like, I love this book. It's a survivor. He's picking up these old ECs, and they're hard to find, but when they're beat up, he just loves them more. And it kind of like his attitude has made me kind of appreciate. I don't need, if the book is perfect, I'm going to be nervous about it. If it's already beat up, I don't care. I'm happy to have it. And like you said, I'm going to read it online, or I'm going to read the reprint. But the memento is there, and I like that it has character. How about Punisher? How early do you have Punisher appearances?
I have, and I figured you would ask, so I have the first in a 4-issue limited series, number 1. And I had Conway sign that when he was at Terrificon the first year I went down. And it's also a rougher grade, and that was back when he was pushing to have the logo taken away and was, fuming about people taking the logo, which is a whole thing. But I do have, and I didn't pull it down, the first Tarantula, which I think is either the second or third appearance of Punisher, depending on how you want to look at it.
Right.
My buddy Sean actually got that for me for Christmas, because when we do guys Christmas, we get together like sometime in December, just all our childhood friends, and we do a guys Christmas where we buy crap for each other that no sane 40-year-old guy should be buying for another guy. Got him lightsabers one year. Couple WWE championship belts that we beat the hell out of each other with, during the evening. There might have been some booze involved.
Yeah. Booze and man-on-man wrestling. That is what Christmas is all about to me.
Mm-hmm. A little ECW, never hurt anybody. But yeah, so Punisher, I got a bug up my butt because trying to do the Ghost Rider run, and I don't know if you guys have done this, but literally, I used to trip over these older books where I'd be in a dollar bin or something and find them, and I'm like, I don't really want that one. I'm trying to get the Danny Ketch run done. So, like, when I was a kid, I literally didn't know much about Johnny Blaze, but I had this one. And this is probably the third copy of this that I've owned, because as I've literally left people in the lurch, and then at Terrificon, I was able to have Howard Mackie and Javier Salteras actually sign this one for me. And it's not in great shape. It's just for me kind of thing. But so this was my run I needed to collect. And SideQuest, or Eric can tell you, when you get to the end of that run, trying to find those books is like a needle in a haystack, because they did a reissue at the end of that where it was 10 years after the book ended.
Wow.
They did one issue that they brought back to finish it because we were left on a cliffhanger. They had canceled the series, and literally that book was like $50 because I finally tracked it down. And it's not a $50 book. It's just it had a very low print run, and it's hard to find. So
that's the unfortunate thing, is that if people decide that they're going to spend $50 on it, it's a $50 book. It doesn't matter what it is. What are those last two books that you had? What are they encapsulated in?
Comic capsule.
Okay, I just saw like the yellow border up there.
Oh no, that was me trying to make it look like my own little thing. So I literally just printed out what I thought the grade was, and then just signed Howard Mackie and Salteras when I had it up on the wall, thinking I look cool. But you can there's I don't know where you find this label, but there's like an Avery or one of those printable labels that you can they make it so you can actually put a label on it. There's actually a template. And I was going to do that, and I'm like, yep, I don't have time to track down that label, order it in, and I kind of like the idea. I just put like tape on it so I can yank it off if I did want to swap this out, put another buck up for display.
I want to ask, because I am not well versed in Ghost Rider. Matter of fact, I think I own 2 issues of Ghost Rider. The first one being the glow-in-the-dark cover that was the first ever glow-in-the-dark cover. And the other one I own is that the Spirits of Vengeance, like that gets hot and cold, like whenever, people like start specking. Like I got it out of a dollar bin. I just have it for some reason. But I know Ghost Rider started as a Western. Then it went to in the Bronze Age, it's Johnny Blaze, right?
Marvel Spotlight 5. Yep.
Okay. And then Danny Ketch is the 90s Ghost Rider?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I guess I knew more than I did.
It's a very long and sordid tale, but Carter Slade is the Western.
Okay.
That's why if you watch my favorite movie with Nicolas Cage,
I'm so mad.
And I'm like, literally, I work for a small pharmacy chain up in northern New York / Vermont. And then we got like some other divisions or whatever. We actually paid Sam Elliott to be our spokesman. So we had this slogan, and, just Sam Elliott's voice coming over, and it's like, yeah. And he gets like, he's not James Earl Jones money, but it was like $100 a word.
Oh, wow.
So, and then they decided they were going to do away with that. But like, I felt he was so wasted in that movie. Like, I'm like, come on. Like, one turn.
All week, I was like, I can't wait. I'm going to watch the Ghost Rider movies before, because I haven't seen them probably since they came out. They're not streaming on anything.
Nope.
They're not available. So I just watched the trailers again.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you are like, is your Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze or Danny Ketch or both?
Oh, I'm a Johnny Blaze guy now.
Okay. That's
just
what I thought.
Because I had to go in. But like when you get to the Western Ghost Rider, here's where Marvel is a genius, because there's actually 3 titles, because when they came out with the Johnny Blaze, they tried to resurrect the Western one. So at one point he was the Phantom Rider.
Okay.
And then he was also the Knight Rider.
Nice.
So the problem with that is one of those titles, which I'm not going to name, has a connotation with a 3-letter group from the South.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they had to change it, because they didn't realize that. And then that storyline gets all sorts of, we're not going to get into the permission / non-permission, if you guys know what I'm talking about, but there's a character that he makes fall in love with him with some magic powder. So whole thing with the whole Western Ghost Rider, but like Johnny Blaze, to me, like once I saw the Nicolas Cage movie, I started getting more into the Johnny Blaze thing, and he's just tragic, like just absolutely tragic. And SideQuest put up there, how do I feel about Cosmic Ghost Rider? I love the fact that Frank Castle is Cosmic Ghost Rider. You're combining two of my favorite things.
I didn't know that.
But so like Blaze to me just is, he did it for a reason, because I don't know if you know like the backstory, but basically he's an orphan. Like in the movie, if you'd watch that, his father's alive, his father's the one that dies. That's not how that happened. Him and Roxanne grew up in the carnival together, and Roxanne's father took him in, and literally he found out it was dabbling in the occult with a bunch of like the circus people kind of thing, and found out that Crash Simpson, Roxanne's father, who was his adopted father, was going to have or had cancer. So he made the deal.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Crash dies. And then in the meantime, basically Roxanne's mother had ended up dying. And she made Johnny promise he would never do stunts, but he would practice stunts in the background kind of thing. And when the carnival was going to go under, they were calling him a coward because he wouldn't do the stunts, but he had made a deathbed, you know, as her mother was dying kind of thing. So it was like, yeah. And then he made the deal, and he got screwed with the deal. Bless us. And, you know, all the other stuff. So basically, I'm like, this guy is me. I make the stupidest decisions, spur of the moment, thinking I'm doing the right thing. And then, we pay for the consequences.
Yeah.
And then that was the only, like, if you get the original run from like 1 to it's 81. So this is the last one. So I had Bob Budiansky was actually at Terrificon, and I got that signed too. So I have
I love that cover. Yeah. Like, I mean, any good Skull cover is great, and Ghost Rider covers have that in spades.
Yeah. So basically, the storyline is going on that he is kind of separated from Zarathos, which they got into this whole mythos thing that Zarathos was like a godlike 8 spirits, and it's got like people walking over a cliff so he can eat their spirits and stuff. Well, he ends up he gets trapped, and this Centurius is this other character that's like an omnipresent person, and they were fighting. And at the very end of this, he gets to combine Zarathos and Centurius, or put in like this orb, and they're fighting forever, and he's free, and he goes off with Roxanne to live a happy ever life until 1990, when Howard Mackey got the permission to use Johnny Blaze again, because the reason why there's Danny Ketch, he was not allowed to use Johnny Blaze.
Why was that?
They just didn't want Johnny Blaze.
Huh.
And then when Danny Ketch took off, Howard Mackey brought Johnny Blaze right back. And then
it's kind of weird because they retired a Western version, then they retired the Bronze Age version.
Oh, they needed to retire that Western version. I'm telling you right now, like the whole whatever they were doing back then, and not doing any research on some of the stuff they did. And then like they actually killed Carter Slade. He's dead, and his son was the idiot. They like use the magic dust. And I can't remember who he actually, forced to pretend to love him or, fake to love him kind of thing. I know she beat the crap out of him in the issue at the end. But,
rightfully so.
But it was one of those that, but like Johnny Blaze is my character. And then when the Nicolas Cage movie came out, I was like, all right. And I went and sat through it and I was like, all right. But you got to remember, this came out pre-Iron Man.
Right.
So we didn't have comic book movies. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Why is he talking like Elvis? I'm like, I like Elvis. Don't get me wrong. And I know he's married to Lisa Marie, but what the hell are we doing here, boys?
Because Nicolas Cage just kind of comes in doing whatever he wants for every movie, and they just almost always let him do it. And sometimes it's genius, and sometimes it's cringe, and sometimes it's both. But yeah, he was in his Elvis phase at that point. I also remember that's the period where he was the crazy comic book collector in Hollywood. Like he had all these amazing books in his personal collection that he has since ended up selling because his house got broken into.
Because some of them got stolen.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And they got stolen.
Allegedly.
He still had the dinosaur head. He would have sold that first. I'm just saying. I got 14 castles, a dinosaur head, and
yeah.
The first
what a life. I mean,
Some people just live differently than we do.
I got an AF-15 and a dinosaur head, y'all. Yeah.
I got an Action 1 and a baby Stegosaurus.
That's usually my pickup line, Hagen, when I'm out at the bar. Want to see my Stegosaurus? Come on. It'll be great.
But so when did you I guess that's a good question. I'm always fascinated by what everybody's origin story is. When did you start collecting comics? When did you start liking these characters, maybe?
Actually, Ghost Rider was later. Hagen, it's long before your time, but in 1990, when I was, I don't even know, 12, 13, I got the Ghost Rider. And I've said it on my channel before, we didn't have any LCSs where I was. I had a grocery store, which was the PNC, which I don't know if that was nationwide or not, but there was A&P, PNC, and then I had a tobacco shop that sold cigarettes, pipe tobacco, and it had a spinner.
Awesome.
And my recollection is that I owned a lot more than I did. I think that I actually just went up and the owner was nice enough not to kick me out as I would pull them off the rack and gently read them. I'm like, I know I had that. And I'm like, no, maybe I didn't have that. Did I just read that one? Because Robin 2 was the only one that I remember buying. I remember trying to find change because I was so into it. And I wanted the hologram one. And when I went up there, he didn't have the hologram one. So,
yeah. I have 5 of those now.
Well, every time I see it now, I'm like, I need this. And it's at some point, you have too many copies. It's an all right story. It's just not, I need
it's the little kid in your brain that grabs the steering wheel from adult you, where it's I know that we don't need this, but I want it.
Yeah, so my uncle used to have comic books, so I stayed at my grandparents' house a lot. So his old room, or they had what we called a back room, which was just basically a Hoarders episode. Where we kept everything. If you remember those you ever saw those glass blown TVs, from the 50s, the early ones? We had 4 of those sitting in a room, which is probably worth money now. However, they did not function. We just kept them, kind of thing. And there'd be a box next to it that had my uncle, I thought, was a DC guy. So it was Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. It was Justice League, a couple of Justice Societies. And I would grab those books, and he wasn't around. I would read the book, then put it back. And then eventually I kind of kept them kind of in a spot where I could just reread them. And that's kind of how I started. It is 1,200 pounds worth of TVs.
For those that are too young to remember, everybody's first TV stand was that old TV that broke, and you just put the new TV on top of it because it was too heavy to do anything with. So it might look like you had 2 TVs, but you didn't. You were just using the one as a stand because it weighed 300 pounds.
Or the ones with the doors were the best. So yeah, these wooden doors, so it looked like it was some kind of cabinet. And I remember that my grandfather got mad one night and decided that he was going to make a bar. So he came in after a couple of cocktails with the boys and decided he was going to make a bar inside the TV set. So he smashed it.
Yeah.
And then realized that there's no way to actually put any kind of shelving in there without like taking it apart and doing it better. So we just had like the doors shut. And if you open it up, it'd be like a horror movie. Shut it again. It was great. Anywho.
Mike. Good morning.
Hey, Mike.
So okay, I want to go to your uncle because that's a good connection to a really cool video you put out recently. You had a post on Instagram and you sent me some messages too of some cool books you found, but this is the same uncle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I didn't realize he had still collected. That was the best part. And like, he's a DC guy. Like, he's going to have a crap ton of DC. And I have a short box of DC. Like, I've got all sorts of like dollar books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But literally, so I'm going through the collection and, oh, you have an X-Men 97. All right. Oh, you got an X-Men 112. Okay. Oh, you have 113. Oh, we're starting to get a run. Oh, we have 120. All right. Then we got 121. 123. We're missing one. All right.
Arcade. I knew that.
Okay. Now we're getting into some stuff. We got 125. Oh, we have 126. Wow. And this was in a throwaway pile because, I mean, that one is missing a lot of stuff. And I'm like, no. The comic's complete on the inside. The cover is damaged, but no, we're not getting rid of that one. Then we have 127. We got 128. 129, which I always like that Colossus.
Yeah, that's a great cover.
Then for you, my friend, we have 130.
Yes. What kind of condition is that in?
Up and down on that one. Then we got 132. 133.
Wow.
135. And 136. And I'm just looking at them going, I have just spent 2 hours going through Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes issue 17. That I've gone through every one of these, and this is what you've got hiding. And he had a couple of ASMs, Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man. I'm like, when did you start doing Marvel? Why were they not around for me to read when I was a kid? I'm sorry.
Those are that X-Men run. I mean, I'm not an X-Men guy, but I can appreciate that Claremont era. And those covers are just classic.
But the best one was, so he's got a throwaway pile. And I've gone through everything, and those X-Men's, they're not overly great, but he wants to move them. He wants to sell them. And he goes, well, you got a YouTube channel. You see what you can find out. And I'm like, I don't know enough about condition to sell anything. I barely know how to buy it without overpaying for it, kind of thing. So I'm kind of like,
exactly.
That's my new rule or kind of thing. I'm like my homework, and I'm going through, all right, I think it's like a 3.0. I think it's like a 7.0, kind of thing. But I don't want to overcharge somebody if it's crap, and I don't want to get screwed either for him. Bless us. But literally, he's got this throwaway pile. I said, well, what's in the throwaway pile? Because, the one X-Men was in the throwaway pile. He goes, well, I've got some covers, but their book's missing. I'm like, the covers, if they're decent, people make Frankenstein ones. I'm not saying that it's the right thing to do, but if it's your personal collection and you wanted to put a cover on it. So literally in the throwaway pile, I'm going through, and I was not recording anything because he really didn't want me to record because he was kind of like cleaning the house and stuff like that. Sitting in the throwaway pile was this.
Oh, wow.
And I went, I'm like, no, that's not real. And I'm like, oh, it's missing. It's got to be, it's missing pages. It's got to have something. No, it's complete.
Wow.
And there's a little bit of a tear right in there. and the pages were all kind of wrinkled down and stuff like that. But literally, it's complete. It's in decent shape. I mean, it's got a spine roll right there.
Yeah.
You know, square bound spine roll. But these also were not in any bags and boards. I need to tell you that because he had no idea about bags and boards. They're just sitting in a box flat.
Holy crap.
And this one was kind of like just sitting there. And I go, well, that's your book. And he's like, I thought I'd have something that was worth money. And I'm like, well, a couple of the X-Men's that, you know, I just showed off are decent, you know, in the grade that they're in. And he's like, he's planning on moving. He goes, well, you take the collection and you see if you can sell it. I go, uh-huh. And then I need you to know there was about a 20-second brain thing. Well, he's going to throw that X-Men away anyway. Don't look too excited. And I'm like, but if he watches my channel and I'm jumping up and down, look what I got.
Right.
He might not allow me to family functions.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. So I told him, I said, you know, this one is your big book, and the condition it's in, I don't know if it's, you know, going to be that. I said, you know, in the condition it's in, I almost want to see if we could clean and press it. But I don't know if there's a lot of help with it, kind of thing. So I'm probably going to see if one of our friends that might be in the chat right now would be interested in taking a look at it with me, kind of thing. So
You gonna talk to Matt, maybe?
I was thinking Matt, because I think that would be a nice little fun project for him, and, you know, going through some rates and stuff like that. But
yeah, that
one
one
wants to sell it all, and I'm like, well, Vern, I can give you a kidney. We should be the same blood type, and I feel that would equal the collection. And then he goes, oh, your kidney, I'll just take it for the Superboy, Legion of Superheroes. Everything else, you know, would take along, or, you know, something else. So
yeah,
he's a smart ass. So.
Jeff from Comic Spa is somebody else, but I know he is
so backed up. He is so backed up that
right.
I don't, you know, I would love to send it to him, but
yeah,
you know, I know Matt. I've watched his channel when he's starting to do it, kind of thing, and I'm like, if I give you a giant size X-Men, you know,
I don't want to speak for either of them, but I've talked to Matt less than I've talked to Jeff, certainly. I believe that Jeff is the kind of person where if you sent him like, hey, dude, I just found this book in a throwaway pile. I'm going to take some pictures of some stuff. Do you think it's worth like going through this process? I'm sure that he would be willing to chat you up.
Yeah.
But Matt from Impressed, I believe, would also, especially if you're going to send it to him, would absolutely be willing to, you know, talk with you about that.
Well, the worst part is like I only use silver bags and boards. I don't know what you guys do because I hate the modern age where you're trying to cram it in and it won't go. So as I'm trying to put this in, so it's a silver age bag and board, and I'm like, it's not going in. It's a little wrinkles. Like I don't know how to get this in here. And then my uncle just comes over. He goes, just jam it in. I'm like, what are you doing?
God,
don't do that.
Yeah, I even use
gloves in a goddamn hermetically sealed room.
A lot of silver books won't fit in silver bags for me if they're too old. So I have golden age bags too, and that drives me crazy. Like to have the odd golden age, you know, sticking out farther than the silvers. But yeah, some of those older silvers, especially the 10 centers, they just don't fit.
If you get silvers, like older silvers, especially with spine roll, like you have to, if you don't cram them in there, like you have to get an upsized bag. But yeah, like I can't stand getting, like I'll get comics in modern bags and boards and I will rebag them into silvers, even though they're fine. Like I can't deal with like the different sizes of bags and boards in my long boxes. I just, something about that doesn't drive in my head.
That's part of the reason why I don't read as much as I do, because I have to concentrate on, I'm going to pull it out of the bag and board. And I got to put a bag on the bag and board. Maybe I'll re-bag and board it while I'm reading it. And I'll have like the stack out. I'm like, I don't have time for this.
That is what I do.
Put it in.
I love to have, I mean, it gives me an excuse to read it when I know I want to rebag and board a series that I've had in my collection for a while. So I pull it out, I read it, and when I'm done, like I I take it out of the old one and just leave it. Like I just throw that away. And then when I finish the series or the run that I'm reading, I just have them piled up, and then I just rebag them real quick and throw them in there.
Yeah. Well, I got really lazy when I was buying, and I'm not joking. I literally had a stack like this. Have I done a video on that? Have I put this on Instagram? And did I read that? Like, I mean, I literally was getting to the point where I don't know what I bought to just try to do a video on. I don't know what I bought to do this. And it's like, so this year, like, I'm concentrating. I finished off the Ghost Rider, the first series, other than Marvel Spotlight 5. I did sit there and go, well, I wonder how much, because my friend Sean and my buddy Trevor actually went on the Marvel Spotlight 6, and it wasn't a huge book, but I mean, it's decent price.
Yeah.
So they got me that, second appearance. And then I'm like, well, I wonder, because it's only Marvel Spotlight 5 through 11 is the Johnny Blaze run before he has his own series. So I'm like, I wonder how much the rest of them are. They were like $5, $10. So I'm like, I'm going to buy them. And then that was going to be the big hype for the channel all year long. And I'm like, I got on eBay in my comic shop and I just bought them. So yay, channel's done. We'll see you in 2026. And I was like, all right, well, what else can I do? So like I'm into the Punisher. And then so I'm never going to have an original ASM 129. I'm just not. But I have a nice reprint, or the facsimile. And I have like 4 copies of that when it came out because I was passing them out to friends like a cigar with, I'm having a child. Here, you have an ASM 129. You have an ASM 129. But so I have that. And then I got the limited miniseries, which, by the way, if you see any of those, you may want to pick them up because that was a goofy thing. Okay. It was supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries. See if I can find that. So if you look, it says, get the glare off, 4-issue miniseries. Uh-huh. It's a 5-issue miniseries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, maybe that's a printing error and that'll make it worthwhile.
No, because they all had the error.
It all had it kind of thing.
There was a DC Demon miniseries, I think in the 80s, that was a 4-issue miniseries. And issue 2, I think it's issue 2 says, I can't remember what it is, but one of them says like issue 2 of 4 when it's really the 4th issue. But it's misprinted on all. It's not like they corrected it, and that's how that was. The big thing with that limited series is, isn't that the one where the Punisher has 6 fingers on his right hand?
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome. Nice Princess Bride connection.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, not this one. I know the one you're talking about. This one he's got.
Oh, it's not that one.
It's one of the other ones.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I know Zach did this cover. Mike Zach did that cover. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't remember who it was, but I'm like, did they phone it in that week or like was the editor on vacation? Because I don't know who was the editor at the time. And then, but I will tell you this, Nate. When you were talking about Ghost Rider, there is a documentary, you can find it on YouTube now, that was actually on the Ghost Rider DVD. It's called Sin and Salvation.
Okay.
And it basically talks about everybody's favorite guy now, Roy Thomas. He's big in it, but it's got Mike Plug in it, and it's got Howard Mackey in it, and it talks about the history of Ghost Rider. So it goes into the, Western Ghost Rider, and then Evel Knievel was huge. And so they kind of wanted to try to do something with the cycle scene and whatever. And, the best one is, we're joking about Elvis, but I think Nicolas Cage actually was trying to do it the way that Roy Thomas had envisioned the character. Okay. So the black leather was right. It came out, 3 years after the 68 comeback special where Elvis was in the black leather getup. And literally the pitch was guy on a motorcycle and black leather like Elvis.
Yeah. I mean, comic books were pop culture for kids. So of course they were mimicking the things that were on TV. And, you know, back in those days, there were 3 networks and, you know, Time and Life magazine. And that was where kind of everything disseminated out from. Everything was really centralized back then. Now we just have all these little pockets of everything. It's very different. So it totally makes sense that they said what was popular and tried to do that. They did the same thing. I mean, if you look at a lot of 60s stuff, there are a lot of Beatles references, you know, whether it's flat out the Beatles or just somebody that looks like the Beatles, but that was super popular. So they put it in comic books. They would do anything to get your 10 to 15 cents. and they had to, you know, yeah. So I want to circle back to something you said earlier. So you are a Marvel guy and you have your Marvel Trinity. But I want to know what's my fault. You said something earlier.
There's
was my fault.
a lot of DC, Nate.
Okay.
Not a DC. And it's because I saw something that you picked up, or like Hagen's the Ferret. You know, I had to get that. That his thing to the point where I actually bought a wig, and I literally was going to actually show up in it, since, you know, and I'm like, nah, we'll show up with my priestly attire since it's Sunday, because I don't want to give anyone in the chat a stroke going, why?
So what DC have you picked up that you've enjoyed?
Oh, I love Batman. Like, I mean, I don't collect Batman. And like, I actually was super huge into Batman as a kid, because I probably, you know, the movie that as a child you wear the tape out, or the VHS.
Oh yeah.
Batman 89.
Yep.
Michael Keaton, that's my guy. And I mean, I love Christian Bale and, you know, all the other stuff, but nothing will ever surpass Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton in that movie, because I remember the hell that Michael Keaton was put through for that movie. Like, if nobody remembers, the minute they said he was cast in that movie, it was like somebody had opened up, and I'm like, you're telling me that you would prefer the 60s camp?
But that's how that's how it was when Heath Ledger was announced for the Joker. People lost. I mean, people lose their minds because people, you know, aren't giving.
We have a lot of keyboard warriors. No offense, chat, but there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there that literally just want to gripe, and that's part of the reason where I'm like, I might need to rebrand the channel, because Renegade Rants, I've only done like maybe 3 rants on the channel usually, and that was about like the Punisher logo, which I actually watched that back and I go, should I redo that? Because I was getting a little testy.
Well, I wanted to talk about that too, but before we do that, real quick, just to go back to like the what you just said, I think a lot of people, and we have talked about this before, Hagen and I, just that a lot of people get their dopamine from rage, you know, they rather than finding something that they enjoy. And so there are sadly people out there who just are going to fixate on that. Like, what can I get mad about? Because that's going to be what I can do right now. And that might get people to click or listen or interact, but it's not, like, to me anyway, not fun at all. Like, I don't want to be a part of that. So to connect that to what you were just saying, I don't feel like your Punisher rant was in that vein at all. I don't feel like it was negative. I feel like it was honest and impassioned. And I wanted to, especially with the two of you today, because Punisher, the character Frank Castle, and I don't know the issue, I just know I read it. He loves Captain America. Like, that is in this thing that Steve Rogers is his idol. That's who he wishes he could be. And he's not that guy because of what happened to him and how broken he is. And he has to approach things the way he does. And so there was this book that I read this whole thing, which I don't want to get into all of it, but the police officers using the Punisher skull, which they kind of did in the Daredevil show. And Frank lets them have it. He's he's like, no, you guys don't do this. You're supposed to be, the line. You're supposed to be Captain America. I can't be, and you should be idolizing that guy, not me. And so they did speak to what you were saying in the comic books, but I think that Marvel, as a company, just kind of saw some problems and stepped away from the character for a while. Whether that was the right or wrong decision, I don't know. But the new book that got announced, Benjamin Percy is going to write, and I don't know that I've read anything by him. I just know that I hear his praises sung all the time. So I'm kind of intrigued to check it out when it comes back. I loved Garth Ennis's run on the Punisher. I don't own very many of them, but I read a lot of them. I thought he did a really good job, a balance of humor and darkness, especially when Steve Dillon was doing the art. I read Preacher, which, again, another connection to what we got going on here. But I thought they were a really good team to take over that book. They treated it respectfully, and they did neat things with it. They did comic booky things with it. They made statements with it. I liked it.
Oh, come on. There's nothing better than when he punches the polar bear.
I don't remember that.
For me, I remember opening that up and I go, all right. Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Like you've just taken it and went, woo.
Right. It was, they never shied away from the fact that it was a comic book. And I love that. It's hard to to go from one extreme to another in tone, but Garth Ennis manages to do it pretty dang well. So I really liked in particular that run. And there was a Punisher miniseries called Born that was a Max series, 4 issues, him in Vietnam. Did you read that one, Jason?
Yeah, that's Ennis too. And that one right there,
excellent.
Yeah. So, but anytime Ennis is writing anything on the Punisher kind of thing, and the 90s stuff got you can't why? There's a couple issues. I don't even want to talk about them.
But that's it. Dude, that's everything.
It was the 90s. Their guns had guns.
The 90s was, Spider-Man clones, Batman, Azrael is Batman, Superman dies, Superman red and blue. You can't name a character from the 90s that didn't have a storyline that nobody cares to go back and read.
Yes, but this one went a little too far. He has to have plastic surgery, and when he comes out, him and Luke Cage are talking about race.
Yeah.
That one right there, I'm going, they were trying to make a point, because you can read it in the book, because I read it. Because, I needed to for the continuity. But, come on!
Well,
I get it, but
no! I think that when they do that, they did it with Lois Lane, right? The Lois Lane race switch. Heart's in the right place. Best of intentions. Not best execution. Not the best idea, right? Hindsight's always 20/20, but putting things in context, these guys are kicking out a new book every 30 days, and that is one of 50 books that comes out a month for their company or whatever. It wasn't it was not malicious, is I guess what I would say.
It wasn't, because the story was,
right,
based on, this is what's still going on. So we got that. But I'm sitting there going, and it's anytime you talk Punisher or you watch any YouTube thing on Punisher, they literally start going into that one. And I'm like, yep, that's about the time it kind of jumped the shark. Okay.
Well, what I will always remember about the Punisher from the 90s is there was a Marvel action figure that you had an action feature where a gun came out of his crotch.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see that?
I saw that, but I didn't get that one. But it was basically based on this, except that when you flick the back, this is the one that has a little backpack thing that made the gun sound, which is stupid. But I have it anyway. But literally, the crotch gun was a Gatling gun, by the way. They didn't give him a gun. It was go Frank. So.
See here. I'm sorry. I gotta show this.
You need to show that because it was impressive.
There it is.
That was also one of my pickup lines.
There it is. So, yeah, that folds down and goes inside him. And when it's time for action, you unfold it and whip out this gun, jackhammer. I don't know. It's not okay.
No.
So like a comic gets turned around so quick, right? Like you said, you know, that we got all these other books we're trying to put out, but this went through a lot of development phases, and nobody along the way said, you know what, I'm thinking
this here, our faces looking at this, like having a Socratic discussion about this. This is the screenshot. This is amazing. I have never seen this before.
You've never seen this?
No, and I can truly tell you, and I'm not going
don't
to
zoom
say,
in for the love of God. You poke someone's eye out.
But literally, my cousin or my uncle who collects comic books, he had this, and he used to take one of the Barbies, and it was before Elf on a Shelf, and for his wife, hide them in weird positions, and that's why I'm like, yeah, I can't use. I know because I've seen some things, man.
I've never seen this figure outside of pictures. It's kind of
no. It's out there because that's
funny.
Yep. So
I have to own it. Like
no. Adam's right. A figure that only Aunt May with man hands could handle. That is absolutely true. God love you.
There she is.
Yes.
I've got to check the Aunt May man hands edition off my list this year. I feel like.
I feel like I have to buy that.
And those are like not expensive. I mean, for what they are, like I find those in the package for $30 all the time, and that's not bad. I'm okay with finding a Lucy, you know, finding as long as the hands are attached and her face.
Don't call it a Lucy. Don't call it a Lucy.
I knew exactly what I was doing.
God, that's awful.
Oh yeah, that Punisher is ridiculous. Oh my God, there's another one.
Yep, there's two of them because the first one that you've got is the bad one.
I could very easily see me going down the rabbit hole of dumb toys. And K Mutant, why are you into this, but you're not into like the ferret? This is excuse me, Father. This is Rocket Dick Punisher. Like, what about this? What about this is respectable?
And the one that you just showed, that was the missile was gone because the missile shot out.
Well, how about this Batman squirt gun?
Ooh,
Nelly.
Oh, and we have the Popeye version as well. These are very good design choices that these people made. Okay, this is the one. Let's see if I can just. Oh, it's too small. I knew it, but if you can't tell,
that's my pickup line, Jason.
It's too small if you can't.
Oh yeah, he folds into his own gun that comes out of his butt. That was
his legs are the grip, and barrel comes out of his ass.
This is exactly why Transformers are robotic and not human. Because if you contort someone to look like a gun as a human being, it's. I mean, this is a horror short story waiting to be written. This is going on No Sleep.
I'm thinking this would be Dexter Resurrection's first victim, you know, kind of thing.
Oddly enough, let's see. Eric just asked for the link, but this is.
Don't worry, it's coming to you, bud.
It's Ty Templeton's blog. There you go. If that worked. That's really funny.
Oh no, they had some creepy stuff, and that, like, the only thing I will say with the Punisher is How many books did he have going at one time?
See, Mike. Who, the Punisher?
Yeah. Like, I mean, back in the 90s, the Punisher had more books per capita than I think anybody else, because you had Warzone, War Journal, the regular Punisher series, then you had Armory, you know, and then you had the specials that came out all the time, like No Escape, Back to School, you know, kind of thing like that. So this is a character that came off as a, you know, one-time villain in an ASM book and then kind of morphed into its own thing. But I will give you a trivia question, Nate. Who is the Punisher actually based on?
Oh, I have no idea.
So when they were doing the backstory, there was a guy that wrote a book series that was kind of like the Ian Fleming, James Bond ones. It's called The Executioner.
Okay.
And I actually have the comic series that is based on the books. But the backstory for the Executioner is he's a spy who other spies find out where his family is and murder them in a mob-style hit. And then he's kicked out of the spy business because, you know, he's crazy now. And he goes on a vendetta of going around and killing anybody that had anything to do with it, or he thinks had anything to do with it. And so, but that was loosely how they did the backstory, because you got to remember, there was no backstory in any of the issues he was in ASM. And they actually came out with a premiere, which was like the giant size magazine type things. That's where they fleshed it out. It's just black and white. Those are impossible to find. And if you do find them, they're pretty pricey. So I've never really tried to go down that rabbit hole. But I was like, I got a bug up my butt when I was like looking at it going, all right, I'm not going to have a Marvel Spotlight 5. I'm going to have the first Punisher, you know, kind of thing. And it was like Wolverine. Not going to have a Hulk 181, but they did a facsimile, and by God, I bought 180, so I had the first appearance. Let's start that in the chat. But anyway.
Yeah.
Because they came out with both of them, so they know something's up.
I'm on Team 180. I really am. I mean,
I'm on Team 180. I mean, you see him. It's a whole panel.
It's a
he
panel.
says his name. He has a monologue that he goes through.
Anybody in the chat that disagrees, please do not unsubscribe.
I mean, if that's what you're unsubscribing over, I guess go ahead.
I mean, from the group that's brought you the Punisher penis gun and, you know, the ferret.
Where else are you going to get that? Where else are you going to get that?
Yeah, that's the best content on YouTube right now.
That's one of those things where, like, it's a fun nerd thing to argue over, but the people that I choose to argue about it with, I know that in the back of both of our heads, we're both like, this doesn't matter. It's just fun to yell at someone sometimes, you know? But yeah, like,
we've been, Hagen and I and a lot of people in the chat, we're heading to Heroes Con, so we're all kind of like dealing with what are we going to try to do when we get there? Like, what kind of goals do we have? What about you? Like this year, it's May. The year's going by kind of fast already. But do you have anything? Is it June? Oh,
it is June 1st today.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was up late last night. The month snuck up on me. It is June. So, you know, is there anything you're hoping to do this year? Like, do you, like you said, you had a checklist?
I'm going to Terrificon because that's the one that I go to every year, and my finishing the goal is going to be, I have about 12 issues of the 90s Warzone and about 8 issues of War Journal now. I want to finish it because I will say this for Marvel, they kind of screwed you. So if you bought the main series, they would continue. The one issue is in War Journal this month, and then Warzone the next month, and it's like, thanks, boys.
Well, you were talking about Punisher having all these titles. I mean, Superman and Batman during the 90s did the same thing. And it would be like, you know, there'd be a 6-part story, but it was all in 1 month because in Superman, he had 6 titles that it would jump through. That's why they had the little triangles with numbers. It was the only way you could track what issue to read next.
Well, that's like the 0 Hour series because I have like the 0 Hour countdown.
Yes.
And I bought it in the package, and I'm like, I remember buying this in Woolworths. Like I had this, and I kept it in the box because I didn't have bags and boards either. But I would pull them out and read it, and I reread that thing, and I've got it now. I want to read it again. I'm like, but I don't want to break it out of the original packaging. And then I'm going, this is a $5 set.
$5.
And do it. And then I'm like, I'm going to find them loose. So that's on the agenda at Terrificon, is I'm going to find those loosey-goosey.
That's cool.
And then
are you looking for any? You got a lot of things signed. Are you looking for any signatures at Terrificon this year?
Yes, I did buy a couple TMNTs because Eastman's going to be there.
Oh,
Claremont's going to be there again. And trust me, there's a thought process of having Claremont sign a few of those X-Men vehicles. But I told my uncle, I said, he was $35 a signature. I mean, he'll sign as many as you want kind of thing, but I don't know. I'm going to have somebody authenticate the signature, which is another $10 or $20 or whatever they're charging now. And I don't know if it's going to really make it that valuable, kind of thing. It might be to the right person. And he goes, we're not going to do that. Yeah. I'm going to try to find my Punisher figure. It'll be great.
Sorry, I just pictured your uncle as Harvey Weinstein. We're not doing that, Jason. We're just going to sell the giant size.
He has the deepest voice you will ever hear. Like, there are only certain dogs that can hear when he's talking.
I was about to say, dogs can't.
And then, he'd be like, yeah, I'm going to be in the other room vacuuming. I don't know if you know that I'm going to be vacuuming when the vacuum cleaner's turned on. I don't know if that's going to bother you at all. I'm like, no, we're good. But anytime, he calls you up, hello.
Eric from SideQuest has talked about Claremont and waiting in line for Claremont, and that is going. If 2
years in a row,
you're gonna be in that line.
No, 2 years in a row, Eric. I didn't wait for more than 10 minutes.
Now, how did you manage?
I pulled it off. 10 minutes for Claremont. I was in and out.
That's insane.
No, because I was when I went over there, he first sat down at the table and nobody had lined up yet because they screwed up the time he was going to sit. So I was literally talking to Benjamin Percy. He's talking about Helverine figures, and I'm like, "That's great. I gotta go."
Later, Percy.
Later, buddy. I'll see you around. I don't think you're gonna be popular.
Oh,
like
that's
Jason
funny.
Aaron, and as much as I have disdain for the man for what he did to Frank Castle, I wanted to go and have a couple things signed by him, other series or whatever, and there was nobody in his line. He's talking to a guy that's got a Philadelphia Eagles hat on, and it was last year, so before the Super Bowl and everything. And he's a Kansas City fan, and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch! Another reason that I don't like you. Sorry, Buffalo.
It's okay. I don't know the sports. Hagen is our sports guy. Hagen, does that track?
I don't mean to anybody that likes the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry, but I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, and I will now have a hatred for your team like the Patriots.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs, Nate, right now are like the Patriots used to be. If you're not a Chiefs fan, you hate them.
Okay.
Everybody does.
Fair. Yeah.
It's just because I think we should have won one of those games, Hagen. That one game that was the overtime, and I know we had it on the line, and I'm just saying that stupid rule. We were on a roll. We could have went all night like the Syracuse basketball team did that one time.
Go dive through a fold-out plastic table about it.
I always do. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't ever drank out of a bowling ball,
you haven't lived.
That's right.
I guess I got a new thing to put on the checklist. I want to hijack and totally I don't know. It's not even a 180. I think we're going to go straight up. Just the conversation real quick because K Munin just made a comment and Hagen and I both have an author we're reading right now that I think he really loves. So I just wanted to real quick. I'm reading Junji Ito's No Longer Human. And this is a manga, this one's more psychological than some of the other ones I've read, but it's definitely got a lot of the creepy body horror stuff. And Hagen, you are reading It's Spiral, but what's it called?
It's called Uzumaki.
Uzumaki. I always get that wrong. But yeah, like my reading pile this week, I haven't even gotten to most of my my new comic book day books from last week because I'm reading through so many trades and things. But this has been so creepy. I have really just loved this, and I just wanted to know like what you guys are reading this week that you've really enjoyed, because that's going to be that and Traveling to Mars by Mark Russell. Those are the two things I'm reading right now that are just kind of getting all my time because I'm really enjoying both of them. But Jason, have you read anything recently that just you thought was really, really good? And it doesn't have to even be a comic book, just anything.
Well, these are from my free comic book day run, and I really like this Destro. It's probably the most recent thing that I read.
Cool.
And I didn't get into the hype of G.I. Joe when it came back out. And I mean, I have a few of the issues now, but I missed one. And I ended up buying that on a Whatnot sale. And then I've got like 2, 3, and I didn't really keep up with it. But I always liked the character of Destro, and I always liked the character of Cobra Commander, and I always wanted those kind of fleshed out. And I really, really liked that book.
Yeah, the new Image G.I. Joe, the one that just started, I think it's on issue 7. I have really liked it, and it's got the Transformers connection, which Hagen and I are both reading Transformers from Image as well.
Yeah. But the other thing that I found out is I just picked up, and the other thing I was reading is James Bond from Image, or it's Image, I'm pretty sure, not Dynamite. It might be Dynamite. Benjamin Percy wrote it.
Oh.
So I'm sitting there going, I read this and I had this one issue and never could find it. And then when it was free comic book day, I'm like in a back bin for $1. I found like 10 issues.
Awesome.
And, different writers on stuff. But I'm like, I want to get all of the Percy because I love Benjamin Percy. Like Helverine, if you guys see a Helverine in a dollar bin, you have to read that. Like, because it's just an excellent story. And that kind of came to place in the Ghost Rider run that he was doing that just ended, a year and a half ago now. And literally just the way that he did it, because it starts off as it's Wolverine being possessed and now has the firepower. But now they brought back Wolverine's son, who needs the demon to stay alive because he's dead. So...
Makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Lovely comic book stuff.
Comics, man.
I freaking and I don't know. Benjamin Percy just seems like he is everywhere right now. Like he is the author that a lot of people.
He just did a movie. Like if you found, I follow him on Instagram. He did I don't know if he blocked out scenes or he said something about writing, but he's into horror hardcore. And he got like, it's, I don't know if it was a fan film or if it was like low production kind of thing, but he's showing pictures of him like all kind of dressed up for the character he's playing. And he was super excited about it.
That's
and I'm like,
awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You had said Helverine, and then, it's just, it's hard to, and so the new Spider-Man Predator is another one. Isn't that Percy writing that as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so people are into those, but it's like I am struggling right now to pick up a lot of newer titles because I'm reading mostly indie stuff, and that's where I'm spending my money. So like when I see a Marvel or a DC book for $4 or $5, I just like, damn it, I will find it in a dollar bin, or like what Spider-Man Predator, maybe it will end up being worth a little bit of money, but they'll do a second or a third printing and I'll find that in a dollar bin. Like it's been harder and harder for me to pull the trigger on the big two because I just don't feel like there's a lot of value for my money. And when I buy something from Image or Dark Horse or Mad Cave, I feel like I'm giving more money to the creators. I don't know if that's true or not, but I definitely feel like I'm supporting independent writers and artists and things. And aside from a corporation and, like we say a lot, we love a character, but we don't necessarily like the way the character is being treated. We don't like the stories that they're telling. So it's like I'm trying to vote a little bit more with my wallet, and not because I am a bad, I buy characters all the time. I think you do too, Jason. You see Ghost Rider, you're going to get it. I bought that Dazzler miniseries. It was terrible, but I had to have it because it was Dazzler. And if I just waited, I've seen it at half price books. I've seen it cheaper, but that FOMO. So I'm trying to quiet that down.
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of you're the library guy, and by the way, that's the first time I've actually dusted off my library card, and I went up to my library to see what they had.
Good.
Because I'm like, I'm griping about the cost on some of this. I can read it in a trade just as easy, and I actually prefer reading them in a trade. And I'm like, I'll start going up there, but because the Helverine should be actually available for you to get from the library in the next month or two. That's why I was just letting you know. And it's
Hagen and I both use the interlibrary loan system that our local libraries have. So like it doesn't work for brand new books. So like I did try to get Traveling to Mars, but it was too new. So I just went ahead and I bought it because I trusted the author. He said this is the best thing he ever wrote, and I love everything he's written. So I checked it out. But like this Uzumaki I got from the library, this is not, and I'm going to the library today actually to turn some of these in. This one was wild. This is The Incredible Story of Cooking. It is the history of how we make and prepare food, like from ancient times all the way up to modern day. And I find this kind of stuff really interesting. Do I want to pay $40 for this? No, but I'll get it for free from the library and check it out. And that's what I like, is that you get from the library, you get such a better chance to like try things that you wouldn't necessarily pick up. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. It didn't cost you a thing, but you did still help out the people who created it, because they track how many times things get checked out, and that determines what they order, and they actually do pay fees to things. So I cannot recommend the library enough. I have two libraries, one that just gets almost all the superhero stuff. They get it brand new. And then the other one is really good for this weird independent stuff or the manga. So I go between the two of them. But if I can't find it, I look it up on the loan system and get it sent to me. I just read Eric Sidequest told me to read X-Men God Loves, Man Kills. I'd never read it before, and I got that through the library. It was really good. I mean, I can't believe I'm this many days old and just read that for the first time, but that was shockingly good.
Well, here's a food for thought for if we do another one of these. What's one of the storylines that if you knew your friend that's in the comic books hadn't read, that you would kind of, I don't want to say push down their throat, but overly promote, like that book, or like we talked about Garth Ennis' Punisher run. Yeah, I would tell you watch Bourne, or not watch, but read Bourne. Although I'm telling you right now, if I could have Bourne done as a show. And I literally, and this is going to sound sacrilegious, I apologize. I love John Bernthal. All right, this guy embodies the role.
Yes,
I would love to see Thomas Jane playing Frank in Vietnam in that Bourne series.
The only thing is they're both a little old to be the young guy in Vietnam.
Well, right? Because he's not necessarily the young guy, and that's where I'm going with that.
Okay.
It's one of those things that, with movie magic kind of thing, and Jane is getting up there, but it never really said how old he was. And that's the thing in comics, like even in the continuity, you never really knew his age. Like you're supposed to figure it out while he was in Vietnam, and they might throw a date up. So was he 18? Was he 25? Was he, kind of thing. But that's why even in the Ennis run, when Dylan was drawing it, he's like some of the issues he was thinning, which is what I did and why I shaved mine. But, it's one of those things that it's like, he's kind of thinning. And then some of the pictures, he looks like he's a crinkled, mass of jelly. So
I want to speak to this point real quick. I don't in my opinion, like for me personally, I don't feel like if I go get a book from the library and read it, I'm not hurting a comic book store, because it's probably not a book I was going to purchase anyway. If I was going to purchase it, I'm going to purchase it. And if I'm not, and I go to the library, well, the library purchased it. So that's a purchase that got made. And the reason they purchased it is because there's interest in people, checking those books out. So in that way, it's not, but yeah, you could look at it like everybody who checks out, a particular book is going to be a lost sale. But I see what Hagen's holding in his hand, and that's going to speak to this as well, because both of us have done this.
So I wanted to speak to this because I'm going to actually put it back up so that I know exactly like what I'm referencing. Libraries they're a wonderful resource. One of the things that I wanted to say is I cannot think of another place where you are allowed to go from 9 to 5 and sit and not spend $1 and everything like that. That's perfectly acceptable. It's one of those rare places in our like modern society that still exists. And I think that that's invaluable. The other thing is that I agree with Nate. If I know that I'm going to buy something, I'm going to go to my LCS and I'm going to buy it. And even if I didn't buy, like most of the time what I get from libraries are graphic novels and stuff, even if I never buy another graphic novel from my LCS, I am in their dollar bins. I am in their back issue bins. I am doing my part to support them, But what I do use the library for is I will rent things and determine if I like them enough to go out and spend money on them. And then I will go to my LCS. So I first read Jeff Lemire's Essex County on through the Interlibrary Loan. And I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite stories ever. This is one that Jason, speaking to what you said earlier, this is one that I recommend to people if they haven't read like a comic book before and they don't want to do like superhero stuff. Essex County is great. But I wouldn't have spent the money at my LCS if I didn't have the opportunity to learn whether or not I liked it from a library. So I do think that it's a give and take. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think library as a resource and a chance to try new things is a net positive. I really do, because I'm the same, like, this wasn't from the library, but a friend loaned me the Flintstones by Mark Russell a couple of years ago. And that made me like go down this rabbit hole that they're doing it may be out now. I knew that they were doing a deluxe hardcover of that. So I gave him his trade back that he loaned me. I'm buying that hardcover. I read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow off the shelf at my library. I bought the deluxe hardcover. Like if I really love something and I know I want to read it again, I will still buy it. Like it's actually a gateway drug for me. Like,
the thing is that you're spending $5 to $6 now, or like last two Wolverines I've got, like, I'm at the LCS and I was backed up, but it's like I'm spending $20 to $30 on my pull list. And then all of a sudden it was like 42 and I'm like,
oh yeah.
What? Like happened here? Like, I know I'm a little behind and stuff. Oh no, it's an $8 book. Why is this one an $8 book? It's not like a giant size. It's not like anything special. It's what?
Yeah, I had a $50 Wednesday not too long ago, and it was just new books. And that's what made me look and say, I got to roll this back. So like last week, I don't think I bought. No, I did. I'm sorry. I was going to say, I don't think I bought any Marvel or DC. I didn't buy, I've been buying the ongoing Superman. I've been buying Batman Hush. I didn't get either of those. I was just like, I'll read them in a trade or I'll find them. They're not doing it for me the same way as some of these other stories. So, I'm not going to give up Robo Wolf.
You can't.
You can't. You have to get Robo.
Why would you give that up?
Yeah, you have to get. I have to be able to get dumb stuff like this, and DC and Marvel is not scratching that itch. So I did still get the Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Martian Manhunter. Those were my DC titles, but everything else I walked out with last Wednesday was an indie title, and Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like $5-6. And DC just, I feel like they went up $1 on a lot of things. Like things that were $3.99 are now $4.99, and it $1 is enough to make me kind of pause back, because a couple books like that with an extra $1 means one more book I can't afford, and I can't afford $50. I mean, I can, but I don't want to spend $50 a week on new books.
Well, it's not even it goes back to the library thing. Like if you want to make sure that you get it when it comes out because you think this is a series you want to collect, and then you don't have any missing, things and stuff like that. But at the same token, it's like, I kind of want to look at it. I want to read it. And I missed the comic stand. Like I missed the comic, rack where nothing was bagged and boarded. And you could go right on the spinner rack and just kind of leaf through it. And maybe I picked up books because I liked the art. Didn't even care about the story, and the story was absolute shit, but it was great art. I want this. I like this cover. I'm going to get this. And then that's where I have a hodgepodge, and it's not all your fault, Nate, but I've got some weird stuff I picked up that I was like, oh, this just looks interesting. Like A Bug's Life is the worst book I've ever bought in my entire life.
Bug Wars?
No. A Bug's Life. And I will dig it out. I will send the pictures to you because It's a blue thing. It's black and white. And it's about this child that literally saves a bug. And then the bug, in turn, splats in a windshield that is barreling down on the kid because he fell on his bike and is stuck in the middle of the road for some god-strange reason. So the bug sacrifices itself because the kid had saved it once and it needs to do that. And I read it going, who? What? Huh?
Well, I wish you had. So Hagen and I spent a lovely weekend together up here, and I got to take him to my local comic shop. And the way my local comic shop is set up is like the comic spinner rack on steroids. So when you walk in, there are, I think, 5 rows front and back of wire racks where they put all their new releases. Their new releases are featured in the middle of the store as opposed to wrapping around the store. So when you walk in, you can just walk through and see all the covers. You can pull one down and flip through the art. Like it really is set up to entice you. And that's good and bad. Like, I mean, I really have walked out with a lot of stuff that maybe I probably shouldn't have, but they're doing their job. And they are a good store. But yeah, people who don't have access to an LCS or people who only shop online, for whatever reason, it does take something away. Like I'm with you. I grew up in a small town, and as a kid going to the drugstore, or the grocery, while they're doing the shopping, I'm in the magazine section, right? I'm sitting on the floor and I'm thumbing through digests, or I'm thumbing through comic books that I found there, magazines, and that experience is just kind of, in the modern era, is just gone. Every kid's on their phone. They're not looking at printed books anymore.
Yeah, I am too young to have experienced the comics on a spinner rack in like a convenience store. That's sort of before my time. Right. But the closest thing that I have is whenever comic stores don't have like their own discrete locations, like they open up in a mall, let's say, it always makes me really happy when I see that, because I will see people meander in there that I know are not just, they're not like dedicated comic people. They just are exploring. And it's so important for those people to have like easy access to this hobby if we want the hobby to keep going. The less gatekeeping there is, the more like open we are about it. I think the easier, or the more healthy the hobby is going to be. And Universal, like, that's mostly what I'd buy. Like these in like my group of friends, I buy by far the fewest number of new books. Like if I have a week where I spend $15 on new books, that's a big week for me. And I think that I don't even think that that's something that Nate sneezes at.
No,
So,
I mean, if I was spending
yeah.
$15 a week, I'd be so happy. I really would, but I can't, I'm not a digital reader. I don't enjoy that experience the same way at all. And maybe I need to start getting over that somewhat, because I do think that's another way, like, not, and I'm not saying like, pirating or anything like that, but there are, even through the library, there are digital books that you can rent through Libby and things. But I don't like reading. I don't like reading that kind of thing on my phone. I don't have a tablet. When I look at, my computer monitor, it's the wrong aspect ratio. I don't have a good device for it, but I also get that that's the way that some people, I know a ton of people at work and they are readers, but they don't buy books. They're getting everything through the library, or they're buying it on Amazon, but it's always digital, and they love their e-readers. So I don't know. But I do think I have, I definitely buy a lot of back issues. I have so many, but I have more fun digging through bins. Like, I think you guys have the same thing. It's nostalgia, even for times that you weren't alive. Like, it's just cool to see that history in a long box. So I just love, picking and going through a box. And I don't like to skip and go quick. Some people run in and they flip. I am a look at every book guy. Like, I want to.
Well, here's a question for you. How about when you're at conventions? Like, I have literally been pushed as I'm in a box.
Yeah.
Like, shoved almost to the point where I'm like, dude, you need it that bad, go for it. Like, this is supposed to be fun, I don't need to be elbowed in the, because you saw that I might have had a Ghost Rider that you wanted, take it,
I definitely, if it's crowded, but even though I am a small man, and I am mighty, like, I will stand there was a booth at a Knights of Columbus show that I went to, and it was 4 books for $1. So literally quarter books. And he had, I'm going to say 20-ish long boxes, all on top of a table and on the floor underneath. Everybody there is digging on top of, on the table, because nobody wants to go down where it's uncomfortable. I did not give a crap. I mean, I was on the floor, like, probably being straddled by large comic book fans. Because I muscle my way in. Now, if the crush is just like way too much and there's not room for me, that's fine. But I'm not going to let myself get pushed out. I'm not going to push my way out.
Basketball taught me to box out. Absolutely, dude.
That's great.
God, again, I'm going to have to learn the sports talk.
Well, as a tall guy, Nate, I'll just tell you that it's not better up here either, because literally, and I mean, I felt like crap there. I thought it was a child, so I was literally in a box, and like, I felt somebody kind of nudging me. So like, I turned because I thought it was one of my friends just tapping me on the shoulder. Hey, we're going to be going here or something like that. And then I turned, I just, spun my elbow, like, not maliciously, like, I was doing like a WWE move. And I knocked this guy right on his keister, and I was like, I'm sorry, you need this pen? Here's all the books I went through if you want to look at it. I didn't mean to do that. And it's like, he was that short that, like, I had him right in the crown, like, part of his head.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Boom. Oh, it's crap. I'm going to get kicked out of the convention.
I have not done a ton to this question that you pulled up, Hagen. I have done some trading and I have enjoyed it, but I do think we were on a stream, Ryan Colossus Collector and Dan from Dan's X-Men Comics said, he feels like he has always got the short end of the stick when he's done a trade. And that's the thing, is I think you've got to know what you have and know what you're getting. And in the end, like, it is just, it's all paper, right? Like, it's not, the value is what you think it is. So if you walk away from a trade feeling good about it, great. And if you're not feeling good about it, don't do it just because you want a book. Don't get rid of stuff is worth more. Or I think in a lot of cases it's not what it's worth, it's just that you still have an attachment to it. Like, I'm willing to trade this, but I don't know that I really want to. So
yeah, I do not trade at conventions, because I don't think it's worth the hassle for me. I I don't want to like risk taking books out of my collection and damaging them for maybe not even being able to trade. There was one convention where I had trade books and the guy just looked at me and he was like, I already got all these. And I was like, oh, okay. But like he sort of made me feel like an asshole for even asking, which I didn't super love. But I do love trading with people that I meet where somebody will find something in a bin and I know that I have something that they might want. And we trade like that. Not really any high value stuff, although like I have done some high value trades, high value, like quote unquote. But I like trading comics when it's with somebody that I know, because then that book has like a thumbprint on it, or I know where it came from, and it makes it more important to me. But as far as like a main way of like acquiring comics, like taking stuff to conventions, if you can do it, wonderful and good for you. I don't have the patience for it.
And I am so stupid when it comes to that. Like, I'm at a convention, and if nobody's at their booth, I don't even try to haggle. Like, if they've got a price on it, I need that book, I'm just going to pay you. I don't try to haggle and stuff. And then there was one, it was Terrificon last year. There's like 3 or 4 books I wanted. And I'm like, could you give me a bundle price on this?
Right. Yeah.
And they literally go, yeah, sure. And I went, why am I not doing that? I'm afraid that if I say that, they're going to say no. I'm going to feel like an idiot, and I'm going to end up paying them the same thing anyway. And I know they got to make money, but you
gotta embrace feeling like an idiot. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like,
I'm wearing a priest costume on our stream,
right. That's what I'm saying.
I should be embracing a lot more than that, but.
If you go to a table and you've got $50 worth of books that you're trying to bundle, and you say, hey, would you take 40? The worst thing that's going to happen is they'll say, no, I really need the 50, and you pay it. Like, it's still, it's not like, would you take 40? You know what? Now it's 65. It's not going to happen like that.
The first car I ever sold, I had it. Now, Hagen, you may not know this, but they used to make a thing called a Reliant, and it was a Reliant K car, and it was a square boxy piece of crap. I was selling it for $200. Okay, it ran. It had 4 tires. The brakes stopped it. The guy that showed up with his family of 4 and the car that I thought was going to blow up in my driveway, by the time he left, I had put 2 extra tires on it and a radio. I didn't even have a radio in it when I was driving it. That's how bad of a negotiator I am.
So you should stay out of the trading arena till you take a class.
That's a good idea, and that's where I'm sitting there. And if anyone wants to trade for any of my uncle's X-Men, I'm willing to take, the Ferret series. That was just for K-Mun, and I'm gonna have a stroke right now, like a little embolism.
Hey, I showed some manga for him today. I'm trying to keep him happy. But he. No matter what he says, he loves us. He loves our nonsense.
He keeps showing up. If he hates it, it's his own fault.
He may not understand it. He may hate to love it, but I think somewhere he loves it. And then there's Bjorn. All right. So, and I have been on the receiving end of this. This man is so damn generous. Like, yes, he doesn't want to trade. He doesn't want to like charge you. Like, I think some of that too, like, it comes with age and the size of your collection. Because I am kind of in that boat as well. Like, I have things where it's like, this is just not for me anymore. Like, I had it at one point. I've enjoyed having it, but it's time to find this a new home. And paying it forward, sending out an AOK, whatever you want to call it. I think there's a lot of value in that, man. Just knowing that, hey, I've had my time to enjoy this book, but I'm not gonna enjoy it any longer, or I don't enjoy it in the same way. And here's this person who will absolutely adore it. Like, I like that.
That's fair, dude. Totally fair.
But I don't know. I don't know that we're cool, but I'll take it. And Bjorn, it can be 2 things, buddy. It can be 2 things. You can be generous and make more space. That's what I'm trying to do around here. And I'm really only trying to make more space because I mean, there are just more things that I still have yet to read or put into the collection for a little bit. I don't know. It's all collecting, no matter what it is filling a hole, right? Like setting a target, getting the thing, enjoying it for a little bit. But we've all been there where like, I got the thing. And like, you look at it for a while. Oh, I got the thing. The thing is awesome. I love the thing. And then as that starts to wear off a little bit, you're like, that thing is awesome. That other thing's pretty cool too. and then the whole process builds again. So
I think the best one was I was trying to find a book, and I have such limited space, like behind my bathroom door, like, you know, kind of thing. I literally have my small short boxes, you know, stacked. It was on the bottom, and I had to move 8 boxes to get to one box to realize that it wasn't in that box. It was in one of the original boxes. And I sat there, and at that moment in time, if somebody had said, I'll buy your collection, I'll be like, take it.
Let's see. JX says comic collecting can quickly turn into hoarding. I think comic collecting is hoarding. It's just in sequential order. There's more organization to it.
It's cataloged hoarding.
And I do like, I'm not joking. Like, I do see part of this as like being an archivist for these things, like that I appreciate, that I know other people might not in the same way. Like I feel like, hey, I've got kind of like this, you know, this chunk, this record, this history, whatever it is. But when I fall out of love with it, I don't have a problem, like I said, sending that off to the next person, whether that's in a trade or just to get it out of my house and give it to somebody, because I don't want them to just, what I don't want to do is to go to a comic shop or to go to a Half Price Books or a secondhand bookseller and just dump it for pennies on the dollar, because I don't know what's going to happen to it after that. Like, I've had it and taken care of it and appreciated it. I want it to go to the next person the same way.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Jason, did you bring anything else that you wanted to show today before we wrap up? I mean, I don't want to.
No, I showed everything off that I wanted to, but I am actually going to just do a quick little plug.
Please, that's the next
anyone
thing.
Wants to, like, on Instagram, I'm Renegade Rants, comics on Instagram. If anyone is actually interested in any of those X-Men, you know, kind of thing, I've got to talk to my uncle because I'm kind of acting as the intermediary or whatever. But shoot me a message over there, and then we can kind of talk if there's any of the books that are interesting. I am going to plan on doing a video Tuesday with a bunch of the other things that I do have a bunch of DC that he still had. There's a few Spider-Man, you know, kind of just a hodgepodge, a couple Avengers, you know, nothing really great, but I'm just going to put those on. I might actually even do like a live on Instagram at one of these times. I haven't done my own live stream. I've been on Croms, so I might dip my toes into something just to show some stuff off and see what people want. But
cool,
very cool.
Let's see. Tuesday, the FOMO squad will assemble at 8:00 on my channel, Holyak Comics. I don't know what our topic is this week, but White Claws will be a drink, and we will talk about comic books. Next Sunday, we're swapped. So today we're on Hagen's channel, and next Sunday, the Comic Book Hangover show is on my channel. We're going to have David the Garage Geek on. He's going to get up real early because he's over on the West Coast, and he's going to join us. And other than that, I should. There's no excuse. So there should be a video from me, an actual edited, produced video on Thursday. I don't know which one because I have 3 I'm working on. So it just depends on which one I can get done first. But I've got time back. So, and that's it. That's all I got coming up. I was on, I'm sorry, shameless plug. I was on MJ Comics. He's in England. I got to hang out and chat with him for like 2 hours. So if you haven't seen that, that was actually really fun. And I locked him in. He's going to be a guest at some point as well. I've got the date written down on my phone somewhere. And Jason, I apologize to you because you were actually supposed to be on a little bit ago, and I accidentally double booked. So like on my phone, I have like my work calendar and my personal calendar, and I use my personal calendar for this. Like that's how I line up Sunday show guests. And I had put you on the work calendar, and one day at work, like it told me Jason's gonna be. I was like, oh no, because I had
it was no big deal, but I was like laughing because when I got the message, I'm like, it's fine, no big deal, kind of thing.
I really appreciate you, like, you know, being flexible and coming on at a different date, because
this should not be stressful, and I got stressed out trying to do some of this stuff. I don't think anybody should be stressing out on our YouTube. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
and like meeting you guys through YouTube, meeting a bunch of the other great friends that I've made along the way. Let's just have fun. If somebody double books.
You cracked me up. You had a video, and it was a while ago, but you were talking about, and that's when I first reached out to you about coming on, but you had said how much you enjoyed the Sunday show. And then Hagen, I don't know if you saw this, he said, Hagen and Nate were drinking beer and watching and playing Marvel Rivals on on a stream. He's like, I don't even like video games, but I liked watching them. So like you said, it's just fun. And we all have this hobby in common. And that hobby branches off. We all have different parts of it that we like. And that's what I like. I like hearing about the things that I'm not necessarily, plugged into, but because you are, like, that's where, it's just where, like, I can expand what I know, but also I love to talk about the things that I like. I like to give other people that opportunity. And that's kind of what we've done, I think, with the Sunday show is that, we're trying to bring people on one at a time and just let everybody have a little bit of a spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so,
well, if you got all this time coming up, Nate, you could do a Monday show and a Tuesday show and a Wednesday.
I'm already doing. I'm a host in two streams.
I know.
I'm a guest on a Fridays. Like I'm doing a lot. That's why I haven't been putting out videos. Like I have a problem saying no. On Friday, I was on streams from 4 p.m. until, what was it? 11?
It was 11 or 11:30.
It was
got a couple of them, but
it was, everybody, whenever anybody asks me to come on, if I don't have anything, I say yes. So I probably need to deal with that better too, but it's just like you said, it's too much fun. It's too much fun to talk to people and to talk about comic books.
Yeah. Just like a big thank you to you, Jason, for coming on and talking with us and looking at certain obscene Punisher action figures.
Figures.
Anybody who is like having your breakfast or having your morning coffee. I think I saw that Hayden was unpacking his stuff. He said he didn't say stuff, but we're here with a man of the cloth in his new apartment.
Oh, congratulations!
I'm glad that we could make that enjoyable, and congrats on the new apartment. I saw a bunch of new names today.
I did too. Yeah.
Universal. You here at the end in chat. Like, thank you so much for. Yeah, thank you just so much for hanging out with us.
Jay Ogilvy, who just left. That was a new one to me.
I've seen him a couple times.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I will. We will see you guys on Nate's channel, Holly Yeah Comics, next week, where we will do this again. But until then, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you all.
Make sure to sub up Jason if you're not subbed. Renegade Rants. It's in the chat. He just left instead of ending the stream.
Fair.
I'll do it.
Okay. Bye, guys.